All right, so the question is, what are the biggest wastes of time in jiu-jitsu training? The first thing is spending time in positions where you get injured or could potentially get injured because you don't want to tap, okay? My rule of thumb is if I'm in a submission or what seems like a submission and I don't have a strategy I'm working on or a set of movements I'm working on to get out, just tap. You're not going to get any better by going from holding on for dear life on an arm lock, almost blowing out your bicep, to it snaps out of your hand and then bam, you're potentially injured. If you're not sure what to do, let it go and tap. And I know that can be very troubling to sort of flip that switch. So one sort of trick you can do is if you're sort of tired and someone asks you to spar, sometimes you beat them, sometimes they beat you, and you're like, I don't know if I want to go with them, I'm tired and they might beat me. Go with them, shake hands, give them the first tap. Don't make it really obvious because you want them to still come after you, but give them the first tap, let them pass your guard, tap you out, because now they've got the story, they tapped you out. Great, they have the story, they got the win, and now you can let all that go and actually focus on, how am I going to move when I'm tired? What do I focus on? How do I stay effective when my energy is low and my partner's energy is high and they're like a shark that smells blood in the water because they just tapped me out? How do I work in this situation? Okay, so that's one piece of advice. Another mistake that I see in sparring is to forget what good technique feels like. So when you're drilling, let's say you did a rear naked choke and your partner tapped when you were putting 2 out of 10 pressure on their neck. You put on that choke, tap, okay? When you're sparring, it should not take 5 times as much energy or strain to get that same result. So when you go into the round, you want to create the proper standard and expectation for yourself. And that means that good jiu-jitsu always feels easy. Okay, and it doesn't mean that that's going to happen next week or tomorrow, but remember what caused more or less strain from the round. Sometimes when I'm sparring with somebody and they're just kind of going bananas all over the place and I get, let's say, just 10 submissions in a round, I'll ask them, what was the third submission I got? And if they don't remember, or they don't remember 1 through 5, then that was essentially just noise in their memory, and they're not going to get a lot of information that they can use from that. So it would be better for that person, if we were sparring and I got 10 submissions, to just slow their own movement down so that they can think about what's happening as it happens. By and large, your instructor will likely not just come after you and crush your head into the floor for the entire round of sparring, especially if you're new. I tend to match the pace of newer students so that they can think their way through different problems and have the time to error correct on the fly and think about what's going on. But a lot of times people treat sparring like competition when in fact it is just a live practice of the technical aspects that you were learning in class. And then one other mistake that people make in sparring is to spend time straining in positions where they're not sure what to do. If you're not sure what to do, it's fine to just ask your partner. Like, hey, do you know what to do right here? I remember the first day of my jiu-jitsu class, I might have been the most annoying student in the class, but I was in someone's half guard after being in their closed guard, and I was like, so what do I do now? I push your leg, and then what do I do? And then what do I do? And then what do I do? And that only had to happen once. I remembered most of it after that, and then we kept going. But if I had just been in the half guard like, I'm gonna just try to yank my leg out, I'm not even sure why I would wanna do that, that's oftentimes where people get injured, or maybe even more insidiously, they start developing bad motor patterns that they later have to undo, right? So if you're not sure what to do, ask your training partner. If you're doing competition training, that's a different story, but in regular sparring in class, it is still a practice where you're trying to learn. So if you're not sure what to do, spending 5 minutes struggling in someone's half guard is not necessarily the most productive use of your time or your partner's time. If your partner's good at half guard, they want you to give them good responses and good reads so that they can practice their movements. So asking them for a couple quick pointers is likely going to be good for everyone involved. If you want more videos, please click below to subscribe. If you want to dive in deeper, you can click here to get a free video seminar I did of one of my favorite sequences from standing to submission. And if you have any questions or anything you want to see, please leave it in the comments below.